Hello, everyone.
Happy Friday, everyone. Hard to believe it's the last Friday of April.
Sure is. Hopefully you guys are wrapping up your week well and looking forward to fun weekends. You know, we've been having some fun watching the draft and looking forward to doing more of that. Sorry, the NFL draft. Figured that was a given.
Not necessarily for everyone. If you're not a football fan, then
that's true.
You're blissfully unaware.
Yes, but we have enjoyed it. And it is nice to see that, you know, it's almost May and better weather on the way and all those good things.
Hopefully, yeah. We're still in having severe thunder storms and near tornadoes multiple days this last week, and thankfully most has steered clear of Omaha.
Yes, thankful for that.
So thank you for everyone joining, and I'm glad to hear that, Bobby. And so we are going to all mention some deals. Nothing really different from last week. YouTube TV is still offering their deal of $23 off a month for the first 2 months. That offers good through the end of July. And right now their free trial is 5 free days. Fubo is still $20 off a month for Pro and Elite, making them $65 and $75 respectively for the first month. DirecTV is offering $10 off a month for the first 3 months on Choice and Ultimate. Sling is $10 off a month for the first month. And Max, which was a deal that just came out last week, is still running a deal if you sign up and prepay for a year. So basic with ads for $80 for a savings of $20, standard $140 with a savings of $30, and premium for $170 for a savings of $40. So.
All right. Yes, take advantage of those if they are relevant for you. Always good to get on a deal. Hi, Larry. So I'm going to start with our first story here, which is on Peacock. And just a question that we're asking is Peacock in trouble? So we have spoken regularly about profitability issues for the major streaming services. Not all of them are profitable. Netflix and YouTube TV are the lone ones that are turning in profits
Consistently.
And a report from Julia Alexander at Puck News came out last Friday afternoon saying there are some concerns about profitability at Peacock. And now they did announce their numbers. They announced a loss of $215 million for the first quarter of 2025, and this was against a loss of $639 million for Q1 of 2024. Peacock added 5 million subscribers over this first quarter, which takes them to 41 million, and that's an increase of about 14%. Comcast president Mike Cavanaugh was non-committal relative to profitability for the app. In an earnings call, he said, quote, "I do expect Peacock to be on a continuing trend driving towards improved monetization, bigger scale, and therefore declining losses over time. We think there's ample reason to be concerned about the platform if we were Peacock." So it has bet big on live sports. It's not the only one that's done that. It has Sunday night NFL games. It has had the Olympics, the English Premier League, and some college sports. It's going to have NBA games next season. But it's bet that having an NFL playoff game would be enough to lure subscribers to stick around seems to be wishful thinking at best. This article from Awful Announcing, which I just want to get on screen for you here, says, quote, "NBC Universal is still in the red on Peacock, and growth continues to slow. Although Peacock maintains the largest percentage of customers who choose an ad-supported tier in the U.S. at 78%, its overall engagement is among the lowest, failing to crack 1.5% of all time spent with streaming services in the U.S. in every non-Olympics month last year, and that's per Nielsen, which we can show that as well. So yes, they have a lot of, people choosing their ad-supported tier, but people are not spending time on the platform, and that's a problem because, as we know, they rely on ad revenue, and if people aren't watching stuff on the platform, then advertisers aren't going to want to continue to run ads there. For March, Peacock had 1.4% reach in terms of time spent on the platform. And just for some comparison, Roku and Tubi were at 2.2% and 1.9%. respectively. So why aren't people spending more time on Peacock? We think it's their lack of original content. Hulu and Paramount Plus both seem to put out better and more original content, and they seem to market it better, so people are going to go to those platforms and watch those shows, whereas Peacock really isn't doing that. It's clearly making a really serious lean into live sports, and we already mentioned that. And they have their 4 RSNs that are available as add-ons, plus 100 games a season for the next 11 seasons
for the NBA.
For the NBA. So critical for Peacock here, as well as other streaming apps, is keeping those subscribers that may come for the sports to stay on the platform longer and watch other things. So given its original content or lack thereof, and they're probably spending less on content because they're putting their money towards sports, it seems hard for us to see how this dynamic is going to change. So, that's our take. What do you think the problem is for Peacock, and what do you think they should do to try to get people, what would make you spend time on Peacock if you don't already?
Yeah, and that's a great point. Whattage about surviving due to WWE pay-per-views, people getting, and like Ben, I get or we get it on the Black Friday deal, and that's anything beyond that. I can't envision spending more. And like, we're rotating through services right now. We have an Apple TV Plus free trial that ends for us in, I want to say, about 3 weeks. After that, we probably won't go back to it until several shows pop up. We'll probably move to Paramount Plus because there was 3 or 4 shows there we want to binge and watch and get rid of it in a month or two. I can't think of stuff on Peacock that we would do that with.
I will say for them, they do have good, I think, comedy. They're old, but comedy series that we enjoy watching as a family. And we have also watched The Americas on there as opposed to watching it live. And I realize that's a small thing. It's just we watch the old episodes of, like I said, SNL or Superstore or things. The Office. They have a lot of good content on there.
We have Office on disc too, so that's.
I know. And clearly it's not enough to keep people spending time on the platform. So
for sure. So next topic is. We've discussed this recently, but what's going to happen to local network affiliates when the NFL can opt out of their rights deal? And someone asked a question last week if we thought that was going to kill local affiliates, and I noticed it being discussed in the media this week. So just as brief summary, NFL rights deal with its media partners ends at the end of the 2033 season, but there's a clause that allows the NFL to opt out at the end of the 29 season. But there's a carve out in that if there's change in ownership, the NFL can make a move then as well. And with the Paramount Skydance merger looming, limping its way to the finish line, that opens up a possibility. And so there's a lot of money with the NFL, to put it lightly. And all indications are that the NFL is going to test the waters. It's even come out this week with the NFL draft that they are shopping around the draft for next year's draft. And it seems to be right now, we're seeing conflicting reports, one saying ESPN feels confident, but at the same time, saw yesterday that YouTube seems to be in the running, and an interesting take that YouTube would air it for free, stream it for free to anyone, so anyone could get it, and then the NFL would sell the rights for it to stream it internationally to try and help grow and increase excitement for the international audience. So it stands to reason that it would cause possibly cataclysmic issues for local network affiliates. So in a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, former NBC personality Chuck Todd made his thoughts clear that he believes that the NFL leaving could pose fatal problems for broadcast TV. And he's not the only personality out there or analyst that's saying this. Per the interview, he said, quote, "I think this is going to break one or more of the traditional networks. I expect Comcast to pony up whatever it takes to keep Sunday Night Football, and they have the resources to do it. And they have the rationale to do it. I expect Disney to pony up whatever it takes to match. Fox and CBS are in a different place. Can they keep up with the Joneses?" And he then went on to say that it could be possible that a partial solution could be that either network, that a network would have to work with a streaming platform to sublicense some games, such as what could potentially be the case with the Brazil game that we discussed a week or two ago. And he says, again, later in the interview, this could be the thing that breaks the affiliate networks all over the country. And then that is the moment when you could see both an explosion of YouTube and at the same time a new consolidation. And according to Awful Announcing, there's roughly, like a posed danger to roughly 500 local affiliate networks nationwide. Now the NFL, and why is it because of the money? Because the NFL generates roughly $5 billion in ad revenue for its network partners when you include the Super Bowl. So regular season and playoffs are $4 billion. The Super Bowl is roughly another $1 billion. So it's understandable why this is such an issue. And unfortunately, what this is going to do is hurt consumers, largely because, after all, not everyone's going to watch games when they're put behind a paywall. So the NFL will have to be careful not to overstep what they believe that they have. With reports that the NFL is shopping the draft, like I mentioned, this could further the issue. And when so much of what people are watching currently is the NFL, it's going to be fascinating to see how this would work out, and how it would impact local broadcast TV. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are. Do you think the NFL could break local TV, change, be a further shift in the TV landscape? And at what point does the NFL need to watch its greed to avoid turning off fans? And I'm reminded of baseball back in the 90s and the 80s. And baseball, growing up as a kid, baseball was it. And the NFL was popular, but by no means what it was today. And baseball today has lagged a lot in popularity. And, there are obviously different issues surrounding that, but it'll be interesting to see.
For sure. Yep. All right. Well, our next story probably won't surprise anyone. It's about another password sharing change, this time over at Max. So these have been pretty unpopular with consumers. On Tuesday, Max became the latest app to introduce a password sharing crackdown, joining Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu. And they had first floated this in December of last year. And now, we're seeing them roll it out. So the charge is the same across the 3 tiers. So $7.99 monthly, which notably is $1 higher than Netflix charges for adding on an extra member. And per this press release that they put out about it, they say, quote, "Extra member add-on and profile transfer are 2 key Max advancements designed to help viewers with a new way to enjoy our best-in-class content at an exceptional value and offer subscribers greater flexibility in managing their accounts," otherwise known as marketing speak. They claim that these updates are going to provide a simple way for subscribers to add on a new member to their account, or for existing members that have users outside of their household to smoothly and in an uninterrupted fashion transition their profile so that extra member can continue to access Max. Though I would argue most people sharing passwords probably think they have a pretty convenient way to do that right now. So obviously, as I said, this is just marketing spin. And I think we all know why they're doing it. It's to make money. They want to drive signups. More signups means more money. And that was something that Netflix was able to do when it introduced its version of this in May, almost 2 years ago, May of 2023. Other things to know about this extra member add-on: Max is currently only allowing one additional member. It's not available if you get Max as part of a bundle. So the Disney Hulu Max bundle or the My Entertainment add-on that My Entertainment from DirecTV is giving you Max for free, you wouldn't be able to add a member on this way. Also, extra members will only be allowed to stream on one screen at a time, and the extra user will effectively operate as a standalone account with its own login information, and it'll allow for profile transfer, so you can transfer over the individual's watch history. And honestly, at that point, why not just get your own full subscription and get the benefits that come with that, because the price difference really isn't that much.
Yeah, $2.
Yeah. So this just begs the question of, is this actually going to drive signups for Max like it did for Netflix? Max does not have the content that Netflix does. It's only $2 cheaper, as we said, than the basic with ads plan. So the value really comes into play if you're being added to a plan without ads, since those are currently $17 and $21 a month.
Yeah, and great question on ESPN streaming service. If it will include local ABC, there's not been a clear-cut communication that it will. I am imagining that would pose some issues. I would like to, personally would like to see it, but there's no telling on that yet.
Okay, and then I'm going to take us to our next story as well, and this is about Netflix, and just something interesting that we saw is Netflix going to add podcasts. So we have been discussing Netflix. They had really good earnings for the first quarter, and they have shared their aggressive goal of reaching $1 trillion of market capitalization by the end of 2030, and they also want to double their revenue over, basically just the next 5 years. So during their first quarter earnings call last Thursday, Netflix said one way it plans to do this is by going after adding video podcasts to their platform. And when you think of video podcasts, YouTube is really the key player there that comes to mind. And more people are wanting to watch podcasts, and that's blurring the line with talk shows between these video podcasts and talk shows. And on this earning call, Ted Sarandos, who's the co-CEO of Netflix, said, quote, "The lines are getting blurry between podcasts and talk shows. As the popularity of video podcasts grows, I suspect you'll see some of them find their way to Netflix." And then in this Fast Company article, they explain why. So data from Edison Podcast Metrics shows YouTube attracts 31% of weekly podcast listeners, compared to Spotify's 27% and Apple's 15%. Nearly half of podcast listeners now watch their favorite shows on smart TVs. And in March, YouTube made up 9.7% of all TV viewing, edging out Netflix's 8.1%. So, I think this is Netflix trying to close that gap a little bit. And it's also not just podcasts. Netflix is adding other creator content to its platform. Again, showing how it's trying to go after some of what YouTube has. Examples of this include, from that first screen I was sharing, Miss Rachel, who's a popular kids star on YouTube, and the comedic podcast Kill Tony. And again, why are they doing this? Well, Sarandos indicated that Netflix wants to help content creators monetize their content and get discovered. I don't know. I guess that can be true. But second, and really the big reason, is trying to keep content that might otherwise strictly be on social media platforms like Instagram or X. So again, trying to get people to spend more time on Netflix. So it comes down to, shocker, it's about the money. And in this Axios report, they revealed that digital audio, including podcasting, grew 8.5% year over year to $7.6 billion in revenue in 2024, whereas digital video grew 19.2% to $62.1 billion in revenue. So there's a lot of money there. With YouTube having more than 1 billion active monthly users viewing podcasts, you could argue here that Netflix is really a little bit late to the party. And Netflix sort of is with other audio first platforms where it's trying to use video in more podcasts. Time will tell if Netflix is going to be successful at this. We think it's more of Netflix wanting to be a place where people can get everything that they want and making Netflix stickier. Now that they're actively adding live sports, it has games for some. It has had games for some time. All of their content now adding in creator-driven content. It'll be interesting to see if it works and if they can break people out of the habit of going to YouTube for those things.
Yeah, for sure. And Netflix they're just spending money hand over fist for content. So it'll be interesting to see. So next topic is, remember the proposed merger of Hulu Live and Fubo that came about in January with the demise of Venue? Well, in the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. It was reported on Wednesday that the Department of Justice Antitrust Division has launched an official probe into the proposed merger. Per Bloomberg, the DOJ is looking into whether the deal would unduly concentrate the market for sports streaming. And this is somewhat similar to the issue that the lawsuit that Fubo had against the powers be at Venue. The merger was going to have Disney holding a 70% majority stake in the combined venture of Fubo and Hulu Live, and would be led by the streaming company's Fubo's, that is, CEO and co-founder David Gandler. And the deal, as a reminder, excludes the Hulu sort of on-demand content. The DOJ believes the merger would significantly reduce competition, making it the second largest pay TV stream provider at roughly 6 million subscribers behind only YouTube TV. The investigation is being spearheaded by Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warren, who in a February letter made multiple concerns clear about the merger. Most notably, this quote, Disney's proposed acquisition of Fubo appears to allow Disney to simultaneously circumvent the lawsuit while gobbling up a competitor. This proposed acquisition raises significant concerns under antitrust law, would give Disney increased market power and incentives to increase costs for viewers, and should be regarded as another data point in Disney's history of anti-competitive behavior, unquote. The reason for this is that bringing Fubo under the Disney umbrella would add to Disney's already substantial marketplace power, especially considering that they control many of the channels that these platforms want to offer or need to strike agreements for, including the ESPN networks, owned and operated ABC affiliates, Disney Entertainment Programming, and more. In short, will the merger give Disney greater license to be able to dictate pricing to platforms and thus be anti-consumer? And we believe that arguably, yes, this would be the case. And sarcasm dripping here. Disney has never done anything like this in the past or currently. Sarcasm dripping there. And something that Dish and DirecTV basically argued when Fubo dropped its lawsuit against Venue. So this all begs a few really important questions. How long will the investigation take, and what impact will it have on the merger? Will Disney at some point get cold feet or not want to deal with this and drop out? And if that does happen, what happens with Fubo, since they 1.5 million or 2 million subscribers, I want to say, around there. And the merger was also meant to allow for Fubo to offer skinny bundles, akin to what DirecTV has done. What happens to those, and would it unwind that, and what impact this will be on flagship, if Congress would look into that more. And time will tell how this will play out. And mergers take time. Anyone that has followed anything in business knows that. and it'll be fascinating to see how it plays through the streaming space, especially as there was thought that Hulu Live would or could effectively go away and just go completely into the Fubo ecosystem and operate under that. So it'll be interesting to see. No news yet on ESPN buying the NFL Network yet. So hopefully that will have some sort of rectification on that, or clarification, sorry, but nothing as of yet.
All right. Well, in our next story, so I was talking about Netflix going after YouTube, and now I want to talk about YouTube a little bit. Specifically, they are 20 years old. They turned 20 on Wednesday. That was kind of crazy how fast time has gone by. And in light of that, they are putting out a redesign and expanding multi-view. So we just wanted to cover some of what they're doing. As part of this 20-year celebration, Google teased what it's calling a TV viewing upgrade. And that will come sometime this summer for both YouTube and YouTube TV. For YouTube, that upgrade is going to bring easier navigation to watching YouTube videos on your TV and streamlined access to comments, channel information, and subscribing. So in other words, making it easier. YouTube on your TV will be more like that fully featured browser experience on your computer. Another feature that they're going to offer is 4 times playback speed for YouTube Premium subscribers. And YouTube TV is going to get a significant change by allowing users to create their own multi-view experience. So this 4-way grid of multi-view has largely only been usable for sports fans. They're going to open this up to more non-sports content with, quote, a small group of popular channels, end quote, in the, quote, coming months. I think I'm showing the Tech Radar screen here. Yeah.
I think you are, yeah.
There's no telling how many channels will be available in this upgraded multi-view.
You need to scroll to show that. It's down below that. Yeah, there you go. There it is.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys can see that on screen now. There's no telling how many channels will be available in this upgraded multi-view experience or if it'll increase over time. There's also no clear timeline as to when this will become available. Streamable reported that YouTube has confirmed it will begin rolling out tests in the next few weeks that will allow subscribers to watch up to 4 different channels outside the bounds of sports, and that the experiment will begin with a limited number of popular channels before expanding to include additional options. One thing we think is important to keep in mind is that, how useful will this multi-view option be? It typically only works if you try to build a multi-view combination that already exists. It's useful for finding all of the possible multi-view combinations for a game, for example, but if YouTube has not chosen to combine the two, say, particular games, for example, on one multi-view, there's really little that you can do about it. Is YouTube TV going to open up the capability of truly creating your own customized multi-view, or will it be preset ones? There's just something to watch for, because it does take a lot of work on the back end to create these. So
it does, and we'd like to see that, but that's takes a lot of work on the back end and would likely result in even more price hikes from them. And some great comments in the chat. I agree, Bill, that podcasts could buy exclusive rights to the top 10 podcasts and pale in comparison to what they've spent over the last 5 years on other content. And that's an excellent point, Ben. We're really interested to see what happens with Sling. We're currently on using it for a month to get our son NBA playoffs access and to watch the NFL draft. And it just feels like, especially with what we've been discussing, what we discussed last week about them letting go of some execs, they're having issues, and we hope Sling doesn't go away, but with my entertainment from DirecTV, that's a compelling alternative for some that don't need sports. And Flagship, when it comes out, those are need two key things that Sling is going to have to weather. And if they don't, then I think it's really going to be a problem for the streaming space, because it's a good, relatively affordable option for people to get some stuff that don't need a true premium replacement service. So one last topic we're going to discuss today quickly is Roku announced this week, I believe it was Wednesday, excuse me, that they are going to be coming out with two new streaming sticks, mini LED TV, and updates to the Roku experience on their platform. What we're particularly interested in are the two new streaming sticks, which is the Roku streaming stick that they're calling at $30, and the Roku streaming stick plus at $40. The first is what the company is calling its entry-level dongle with video capabilities of up to 1080p resolution, and the latter has 4K capabilities and HDR color. If you want Dolby Vision capability, you'll still need the streaming stick 4K for that. A few upgrades to know about these new devices. Roku is saying that they were over 35% smaller than other brands. Roku is also, the other nice thing is they're also including a voice-enabled remote for both. And Roku is saying that devices are now available via pre-order from their site and available to buy at all major retailers on May 6th. So about a week and a half, 2 weeks from now. And the new TVs will be seeing some significant upgrades as well, but they came out more with updates on the dongles. So that's what we have for this week. A few more comments. Do you think Fubo will buy Hulu Live if the deal does get blocked? That, I'm sure it's possible. I don't know if they have the resources to do that. I believe they have flirted with profitability and not the most profitability, especially relative to like YouTube TV. I just don't know if they have the resources to do that. But what do you think?
I agree. I don't know that they, and would Disney want to sell Hulu Live?
Yeah, and unwinding that from Hulu itself, because that is a compelling value add-on when you get Hulu Live and you get the Hulu bundle.
Yeah, the Disney bundle.
Disney bundle. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that, it doesn't seem likely to me, but we'll see. Fubo does not seem to be going quietly into the night for whatever reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a relatively good platform. It's just too expensive and is missing too many channels.
Right. Not having those Turner networks really, I think, continues to hurt it. But,
yeah. Yep.
Well, that's what we have for the week, everyone. Thank you for sticking around with us today and spending some time with us. We will plan to see y'all next week.
Yeah, in May.
Awesome. Have a great week, everyone.
Yes.